after me. As a graduate of the IS University, wherever my life may take me, I use my knowledge, experience and skills to the best of my ability for the advancement of learning and the well-being of mankind. I take pride in my culture and heritage. I conduct myself with honesty and integrity, taking responsibility for my actions and respecting the rights, opinions and dignity of all people. I will consider the social and environmental consequences of choices I make in my personal life and at work. I will honor all who have shared the knowledge with me and will in turn share my knowledge and experience with others in the field. With this affirmation, I acknowledge and honor the contribution of my university in grooming me into a world-ready citizen. I promise to be a loyal ambassador for my university and will seek to promote its welfare and maintain its reputation. This oath I make freely and upon my honor. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you. You may sit. The chief guest of this convocation ceremony, Dr. Subramanian Swami, to kindly bless the students by his convocation address. Dr. Subramanian Swami.
Thank you, sir. Before we Dr. Subramanian Swami is an acclaimed economist and a man with a reformist vision for the nation. He holds a PhD in economics from Harvard University and has the distinction of having worked for his doctoral thesis under Nobel laureate Simon Kuznets and for jointly authored research on index number theory with Nobel laureate Paul A. Samuelson of MIT. He is also a widely published author and has held teaching positions at premier educational institutions both in India and abroad, including IIT Delhi, Delhi School of Economics, and Harvard University in the US. Dr. Swami has written on various aspects of India's foreign affairs, dealing largely with China, Pakistan, and Israel. More recently, he has held the position of Chairman, Strategic Action Committee of the BJP for the Lok Sabha elections 2014 and is a member of the National Executive of the BJP. Dr. Swami was elected 5 times as Member of Parliament, thrice to the Lok Sabha and twice for Rajya Sabha. He has served as Union Cabinet Minister for Commerce, Law and Justice and also Chairman with Cabinet rank, Commission on Labour Standards and International Trade, the GATT Commission. In his capacity as an astute economist, Dr. Swami has served as a member of the group of eminent persons called to Geneva in the late 70s to prepare a report of the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, focusing on economic cooperation between developing countries. Dr. Swami can also be credited for simplifying trade procedures and formulating a new export strategy, which became the forerunner of trade reform adopted subsequently. It is with such a diverse portfolio of achievements that Dr. Swami has left an indelible impression on the face of Indian politics, especially as a thinking politician. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Subramanian Swami.
Honorable Chancellor, former Chief Justice of the Rajasthan High Court, Justice Bhargava, Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Gupta, Honorable Registrar Dr. Rakhi Gupta, Rekha is better than Rakhi. Draw the line. And Honorable Managing Trustee Rajiv Ji, graduated students, Honorable Professors, Deans, and friends. The students who have graduated will now go into the real world, a world which is totally different from the university life you led. Life is full of risks, challenges, and opportunities. And if your training in the universities is adequate, you will be able to meet these challenges quite easily. Indian students come from very ordinary universities in India, not places of excellence like this university. And yet when they go to the United States and get exposed to a new environment, they do extremely well and rise to the top. Indian community in the United States has the highest per capita income of any community in the United States, including white, German, French, and Japanese. We were, once upon a time, a developed country of the world, not only economically, but we were considered as world leaders in spirituality. The whole of Southeast Asia, Cambodia, Vietnam, Japan, South Korea, and China came heavily under the spiritual thinking of India. And without a single bullet fired, Indian spiritual ideology, theology spread all over the world. Thereafter, there were violent aggressions in our country, and the country, from being the most developed country in the world, which not only gave material goods, spiritual guidance, but also was able to provide intellectual thinking in mathematics, physics, surgery, and in a number of fields, so much so that once Albert Einstein said, "I salute India because they taught us how to count, because the decimal and the numerals came from India." Now it's the duty of all generations, yours and future, to see that this country once again, having become free, returns to that height which we had before. We can do it. It is not difficult, but it requires a mindset. Unfortunately, although we have made a lot of progress in education, the framework still is, and the framework that you have to comply because of UGC rules and this rule and that rule, the framework is still the 1835 Macaulay framework, which teaches Indians to strive to become clerks and babus in the bureaucracy, and not entrepreneurs, risk takers, inventors, innovators, adventurers. That psychology is not there. And therefore, without a mindset, no matter what you have numbers, you have strength, it's the same. 1,000 goats cannot scare one tiger, because the mindset of the goat is one of fear. And even though they are 1,000 in number, they are afraid of one tiger. You can have 5 lions in a circus, strong, well-fed, but they will obey a thin ringmaster who will come in and order them. to climb tables, go through a ring of fire, and so on. The mind has to be free. And for that, the curriculum must ultimately rise from the present focus of cognitive intelligence, which means teaching mathematics, physics, and so on, which is important and must be taught. But you also need to learn how to argue, which is today called in the West, particularly Harvard University, which invented this terminology. It is called emotional intelligence. Cognitive intelligence is what you are learning today in our education system. But you now need to know how to argue, how to persuade. You must also have a social intelligence, that your personal advancement doesn't harm society. If it can't benefit society, it should not harm society. For example, I might know the fastest way to make profit is to have a factory with no environmental safeguards. And it will pump smoke into the air, and the society will suffer in health. But I will make profit. That shows that you do not have social intelligence. You need to have developed moral intelligence, because you must not act in a way wherein because of your advancement somebody else has to suffer. All has to be done at the expense of somebody else's own position. You must learn how you can make and seek your aspirations and fulfill your aspirations without harming anybody else, unless that person is intent on harming you. So therefore, social intelligence, moral intelligence, and finally something which ultimately we have to bring into the curriculum, which the ancient rishis of India knew. That was called spiritual intelligence. And spiritual intelligence now, as it is taught in foreign universities, in America particularly, means that they recognize the brain emits waves, and they also recognize what the rishis used to call as the Brahman, which means the cosmos, that the cosmos has all the content of knowledge, and that for the really wise person, he should be able to connect to his brain to the cosmos. That is now being called as neural Wi-Fi. You connect to the cosmos. After all, you see, when you make a phone call on a mobile telephone, you don't see any wires, you don't see any connection. Yet in any part of the world, you are able to instantly communicate. That communication comes through that Wi-Fi. The same way, if your brain can connect with the cosmos, there is no problem that you cannot solve. So you have to now develop a new kind of intelligence, which is called spiritual intelligence. And finally, you have to develop what is called as innovational intelligence. Economic progress has not taken place because you pumped in more capital and more labor. It is because new ways of doing things transform the economy. Industrial revolution in Europe took place because they invented the locomotive, the Bessemer steel blast furnace. The Americans made great progress because they brought in new industrial organizations, integrated system. And later on they invented the electric power, the wireless, and ultimately jet engines, fax machines, and at the end of the 20th century they invented the internet, which now has transformed the way we do business, the way we communicate. Previously we used to write a letter and it used to go to England in 1 week. Today it's not even 1 second. It's instantaneous communication. Therefore, it has revolutionized the way we do business today. So innovation is very important. And today we need people, the younger generation, to come out and engage in new innovations for India. In whichever field you are, your business, there's a business organization that you can invent. The new ways of doing business. Or when you look at our country, how many obstacles we have, how to overcome those obstacles. We fight over river water, but there is so much water that we don't utilize. For example, the whole Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal and the Indian Ocean. If you can desalinate that sea water, you will have so much water you won't know what to do with it. Tamil Nadu and Karnataka fight over Kaveri River. But Tamil Nadu can easily desalinate sea water. And instead of asking Karnataka for water, they can send water in the reverse direction around Kaveri River back to Karnataka. Desalination is a known technology and is being improved every day. Saudi Arabia relies on technology from their enemy, namely Israel. And there are no rivers in Saudi Arabia. There are no rivers in Israel. There are no rivers in Dubai. Yet there is greenery because they take the water out of this ocean. Similarly, oil is a polluting fuel. Crude oil that comes in is refined and then it is burnt. But now in the future we can have cars running on hydrogen fuel cells, which will be absolutely clean and will revolutionize motor transport. For that, research is going on. India has got 60% of the world's thorium, which if we convert, we will be able to do it transform it into a clean fuel, nuclear fuel. 60% of the world's thorium. That is the extent to which we have in our country resources. Our country's agriculture today produces goods despite its poverty of farmers, the cheapest production, the cheapest cost. Rice is 1/6 the price produced in Japan. Milk in our country is today selling within our country at 1/10 the price it is sold in Europe. We have 150 million cows. Their average yield is only 200 liters per year. But good parts of China also like that. India can grow for three crops a year. That is tripling the production. Because today only 25% of the land has more than one crop per year. And our yield per acre today existing is 1/5 or 1/6 the yield per acre in the pilot farm fields of Indian Council of Agricultural Research. With adequate water, irrigation, proper seeds, research countries, we can grow in the same plot of land in India 5 times what we are growing today without additional investments. So, India is a land of potential. What we need from the young people today is not to get a job and get an annual salary which increases at 5% per year and a provident fund and pension at retirement. We need people who will innovate, make India break through these obstacles that we have acquired over the centuries. And that can be only done when the young people want to engage in, not in a livelihood of working in an office, but to work to see which are the problems of India to be solved. That requires risk-taking. And that risk-taking should be rational. That needs a mindset. Indians are risk averters. That is the biggest problem with India today. They don't want to take risk. They want to play safe. If you want to play safe, this country's poverty cannot be removed for centuries. This is what the British instilled into our mind through the Macaulay educational system. And therefore, we particularly, because our country today, 50% of the population is below the age of 20. 75% of our population is below 75, below 35. And it's a young population. Other nations are now aging. The average age of India is only 26 years old. Average age. Average age of China is 35. United States 38. Europe is 46. And Japan is 50. We have got this young population. And if we can educate all of them with modern, appropriate education, India will transform itself in no time through this younger generation. In one generation, we can once again become the most developed country of the world as we were 500 years ago. So this is in your hand. But then you must have, as I said, a clear understanding of what you are. You are an Indian means what? It doesn't mean that you have a passport. That's not Indian. That is a citizenship concept. Indian is, in what Sanskrit we call as asmita, your identity. What is your identity? It is this thousands of years of your culture. We Indians are not different. Today, history books has been teaching us for these last 100 years that we are a nation of Aryans and Dravidians. But originally, Dravidians ruled India. Then the Aryans came through Khyber Pass, and then more and more general invasions took place. But today, when you carry out DNA analysis in the modern theory of genetics, we find all Indians have the same DNA. Whether they are Brahmins or scheduled caste, the DNA is the same. Whether you are a Hindu or a Muslim, the DNA is the same. And therefore, whether you are North Indian or South Indian, the DNA is the same. That means we are all one people. We didn't come from somewhere else. So the identity must be that bonding of every Indian with everybody else. All these divisions of caste and all have no meaning in basis of DNA. Originally it was devised as a division of labor and not on birth. But it has got ossified and has now become part as birth-based. So we now must have a new mindset that we are all one people. And that is the one, the transformation that happens. Some of the things that we thought is all of the past, today is becoming part of the modernity in Western world. Yoga, when it was in the 1950s, used to be laughed at as something crazy of twisting your body. But today, every single city in the United States has got a yoga center. And yoga is being practiced all over the world. It's something we invented, and we didn't realize its value ourselves. Today, the NASA has come to the conclusion that in future, to store knowledge in the computer, the best language for all, to bring all the knowledge from all the countries and put it into a computer. The most computer-compliant language, they said, is Sanskrit, and therefore they have made it compulsory in NASA for the field of artificial intelligence. So I'd like all of you, now that you have graduated, to use your spare time to learn Sanskrit. because its vocabulary is all over in our country. Even the Constitution of India says that the Hindi language, which is the official language, must borrow its vocabulary from Sanskrit. If I'm not wrong, it is Article 341. And this Sanskrit today is considered as the most computer-compliant language. The country which invented Sanskrit is not learning Sanskrit, but other countries are adopting it. In England now they are teaching Sanskrit in schools. So I like this generation. You're passing out, we are proud Indians. Forget these differences which divide you, because they are not based on any science. Science tells you we are all one people. Only our opportunities are different. If a person gets educated, he will become equal to anybody else. That is why Dr. Ambedkar came from the most discriminated community, from the most backward part of Maharashtra. And then he went to get his PhD in economics in 1916 from the University of Columbia, and his law degree from England. And came back and became the chairman of the drafting committee of the Constitution. So therefore, this question of who is superior, who is inferior, doesn't exist in India. Anyone with equal opportunity can rise. Those who have been suppressed in the past have to be given temporarily an extra opportunity. But in the end, we all can compete with each other. So I would advise you that the university experience has prepared you today in only one dimension, and that is cognitive. You are good in mathematics, you are good in physics, you are good in management science, you are good in psychology. That's only one dimension. The other dimensions, for which books are now being written, and you can get them from Google or Amazon or Flipkart or whatever, these different intelligences, they contribute to your personality. And therefore, I'd like to see an Indian who's fearless, who takes risk, who's patriotic, who's willing to devote part of his time for national construction, to come out of this. You have got a wonderful opportunity in a university which has got facilities which very few universities have. You have grown in strength now to 5,000 students, if I'm not wrong. Perhaps last year you were 4,000, now you're 5,000, growing very fast. And I hope, therefore, no student in the future will have to think about going abroad to get better education. He can get the education that he needs in India. I would also urge you that please don't think that material prosperity is everything in life. Values, spirituality have to be harmonized with things. If you go to all our sannyasis, ashrams like Sri Sri Ravi Shankar or Baba Ramdev, find a lot of rich foreigners there from Europe and America. And when I ask them why, when they have got all this money and wealth, they are coming here and sitting cross-legged in the ashram and listening to speeches and pravachans from these sadhus. They said, well, we made a lot of money, but we are not happy. And we learned that if you go to India, they will teach you how to be happy. And that is a fact. Even our poorest people in India are more happy than the richest people in America. Because there is a certain attitude to life. There is an approach to family. The respect that you give to your parents, you don't see that in Western world. Western world is a one-dimensional material prosperity pursuit. Whereas in India, we have always balanced spiritual advancement with material prosperity. When I first went as a student to get my PhD at Harvard, my classmate asked me this question: how come Indians decided to follow Mahatma Gandhi as their leader? I said, what is wrong with that? So this American student told me, but Mahatma Gandhi doesn't dress properly. He just has one piece of cloth around his. And then I said, you mean in your country the leader must be very well dressed? He said, yes. He must have the best tie, the best suit. His shoes should be shiny. This is a fact. Look at any Western leader, how well dressed he is. But in our country, people have led because we have always held that the ultimate is a person who not only has not got knowledge, but he makes the necessary sacrifice for it. So I would say, please don't pursue material prosperity as an end itself, because that produces greed, and greed will produce corruption. And the corruption will destroy the society. And this country has survived for this long because of this balancing of spiritual progress and material progress. UNESCO has listed 46 civilizations. Today only one is surviving. Other 45, like Greece, Rome, Egypt, Iran, they've all disappeared. The only civilization that has continued unbroken today is the Indian civilization, and that is the tribal. And that's because we developed a balanced personality. We never judge people by their material prosperity, but their spiritual attainment or their moral character. These matter. These are under attack today from westernization. We need modernization in our country. Many of our past practices are out of date. But let me say that we must consciously make a distinction between westernization and modernization. Westernization has not produced happiness in the West. It will not produce happiness in India. But modernization within the framework of our spiritual values, that will make the future Indian as a superman or a superwoman. We have always respected women in this country. In fact, one day I was sitting with a friend and saying, let us speculate that if in heaven we form a cabinet, who will be the Prime Minister? So my friend said, Brahma. Then I said, Deputy Prime Minister must be Shiva and Vishnu. He said, yes. He said, well, let's see who's got the important portfolios. And I was surprised to find defense is with Durga, finance is with Lakshmi, and education is with Saraswati. So I said, you mean male God? I said, male gods are nothing. He said, no. Information broadcasting for Narad Muni. That's all the male God. The three most important portfolios that shape society were with women. We have called our country Bharat Mata. So therefore today what you see, discrimination against women is not part of our civilization. It is a regression that has taken place in the last 1,000 years. So we have to transform ourselves, because today we are no more in the physical realm. The physical strength does not matter. What matters is your mind. Knowledge century, they say. 21st century is the century of knowledge. And in knowledge there is no difference between man and woman. And that gender equality concept should be ensconced in your brain, should be part of your thinking, and it should be your behavior. And I would like to see a society integrated where men and women are equal according to their abilities and not according to their physical strength. And therefore, a great India will emerge, which was once upon a time very great. It will come through a revolution in the mind, and that's what the university has prepared you today to think. I hope to see the it is in the future, many of you prosper in your future pursuit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your very enlightening words of wisdom. I now request Dr. Ashok Gupta, Honorable Vice Chancellor, to present a token of our deep gratitude to the Chief Guest, Dr. Subramanian Swamy. May I also request the Registrar to also present a token of our gratitude to our Chief Guest, Mr. Subramanian Swamy. Thank you, sir. Ma'am. May I now request the Registrar to propose a formal vote of thanks.
Thank you. Justice S.N. Bhargav, Honorable Chancellor, the IS University. Our Chief Guest, Dr. Subramanian Swamy, Dr. Ashok Gupta, Honorable Vice Chancellor, the IS University, members of the Board of Management and Academic Council, distinguished guests and other dignitaries, dear graduates and their family and friends in the audience. Before the graduation ceremony closes, I have the honor and privilege to propose a formal vote of thanks at the end of the fourth convocation of the IIS University. I'd like to begin by expressing my sincere gratitude to Dr. Subramanian Swamy for his kind acceptance to grace the occasion as the chief guest and to deliver the convocation address. Sir, we thank you for your very insightful address. As a distinguished academician yourself, your presence here today demonstrates your unfaltering commitment to education in a continuously changing world. Today, ladies and gentlemen, clearly belongs not only to those of you who have received their degree certificates, but also to your parents, family members, teachers, and friends. Without their unstinted support, constant encouragement, keen guidance, and unconditional love, you would not be here today, and for which I am very grateful. Graduation Day is the most memorable and exciting part of a student's life. It is a day that initiates transition and progress from one rung of ladder to another. It is also an occasion when the students' hard work and dedication are finally recognized, celebrated, and rewarded. We at the IS University are firm believers in lifelong learning, and I'm sure that in making wise use of tools of learning, you will, in times to come, prove that you have learned how to learn. I therefore sincerely hope that the skills you have gained during your time here, especially the ability to think and to question, will serve you well, no matter what path you choose to take in life. My thanks are also due to Justice S.N. Bhargav, Honorable Chancellor, and Dr. Ashok Gupta, Honorable Vice Chancellor, the IS University, for the support and guidance that they have extended in making this convocation a successful one. Their overall supervision has helped carry out today's program to its smallest detail. May I extend my heartiest gratitude to all our special invitees and all those who are here today to be part of this solemn occasion. Their presence is a measure of the faith and confidence that they repose in our institution. We value their unwavering support and cooperation in the functioning of the university. I also convey my thanks to Professor K. Sharma, Advisor, Professor N.K. Jain, Dean Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, Professor N.K. Sharma, Dean Faculty of Commerce and Management, Professor Pradeep Bhattagar, Dean Faculty of Science and Professor Subhash Garg, Director, Center for Research, Innovation and Training, the IIS University, for their meticulous approach in terms of planning and execution, which has helped us immensely to pull off a function of such stature and magnitude. My colleagues at the university have always been a source of strength and support to all that we have undertaken. I'd be failing in my duty if I don't mention my deep sense of appreciation for all the faculty conveners volunteers, and the technical and support staff who have tirelessly worked towards the success of the program. It was the infectious team spirit which helped today's program see the light of day. I hope to look forward to an even more zealous involvement in the university's activities so that we can all carry out the mandate that has been placed upon us. I would also like to thank the media persons for evincing such interest to cover this convocation ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, before I end my speech, I would like to wish all the graduates the very best, as many of them will now enter into the working world, participate in the next society, and travel the road ahead. Although you may face great challenges in a fast-changing environment, rest assured that with great challenges come great opportunity. Once again, congratulations all graduates. Please give yourself a big round of applause. Mr. Chancellor, kindly permit the resolution of the convocation.
I do permit.
Mr. Vice Chancellor, kindly dissolve the fourth convocation of the university.
With the permission of the Chancellor, I hereby dissolve the fourth convocation of this university.
Thank you, sir. I now request everyone to please rise for the national anthem. The guests will leave the hall 5 minutes after the procession has left the convocation hall and proceed for lunch. The graduates too may leave 5 minutes after the guests have left the hall and only after returning the academic dress at the designated counters may proceed for lunch. The members of the academic procession are requested to assemble for a group photograph at the stage steps and then proceed for lunch. Thank you all once again.
Yes.